everyone to our first discussion about a movie. I'm Larson, and I'm joined by Will.
Hey,
William.
I'm here. I'm excited to be here.
Today we're going to talk about When Evil Lurks, 2023. It is a horror suspense movie. Brief synopsis. When the residents of a small rural town discover that a demon is about to be born among them, they desperately try to escape, but it may be too late. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll just start out. What did you think of the movie, Will?
So it was a great movie, and I don't usually listen to foreign movies, but to be honest, I really should. This made me want to listen to more foreign movies because it was like, it really did a great job with everything from the cinematography to the actual storyline. It was also one of the most disturbing visuals I've seen, and like it didn't hold back with the kind of stuff it was showing.
Yeah, I also thought it was really good. Yeah, a lot of foreign movies don't usually get any kind of, the same type of recognition as, Hollywood
English,
movies.
yeah.
American Hollywood movies.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes they can have the same or if not better quality. So this is a good example of a really good foreign movie.
I like one of the best parts, and the part that I'm going to remember the most, is that it felt like there were things in this movie that other movies would kind of let you think about in your imagination off screen. Like you might hear something happen, but it wouldn't directly show it in the camera. Like in the closer to the beginning with the goat, when the goat starts to they think the goat is possessed, and they hold the gun to the goat, and they just let the whole head of the goat just kind of go off. I was like, usually that would be just like an off-screen bullet noise, and maybe you'd see a headless goat later, but this was like, you just saw the whole head just go away.
They could have made it easier on themselves and just show it up there, but they chose to put in the work.
Like, it takes a lot more work, I think, to put in those visuals.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of gore. I liked all the gore. My favorite one was the guy in the bed.
The main guy.
Swelled up.
Yeah.
And what I loved is how, he was obviously swelling up with, pus, which is gross already.
It's great.
But at some point, you can see his face, part of his face is all, disfigured, and the part of his face that's, really swollen, it's a close-up of his face, and then it starts to deflate just a little bit, and if you're looking closely, you can notice it, and then, pus just starts drooling out of his mouth, and it's just oh, that's kind of gross, but very detailed. And then the mom comes over, and she has a bowl, and there's a rag in the bowl, and there's a yellow liquid that the rag is sitting in the bowl, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And she takes it and she soaks up the vomit pus coming out of his mouth, and it's oh my god,
yeah,
it didn't even do anything.
Yeah,
it just smeared pus all over his face.
Yeah, they really went out of their way to make it kind of as gross as possible, which I guess is what a demon would want it to be, gross.
I think it also adds to the characters, that specific scene, because it's you kind of get a sense of their poverty also. It's they don't have money for extra
they're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
This is very rural. It was in Argentina? What was
I don't
it?
know. I can check.
Yeah. I think it was rural Argentina or something, but it was as rural as you can get, and they know that if they need to get help, that the local police is the best bet they have, but the local police is very small and not very powerful.
And they're just what do you want?
Yeah. It's this isn't really my business.
There's a dead guy. There's a bunch of dead guys.
It's not my problem.
This is always a dead guy. But everyone in the movie has some kind of real world struggle that is going on in the background also.
So one of the points that I like best about the movie is that the main protagonist, the guy, he is good at heart. His intentions are always great, but he does things in the movie that cause the worst things to happen in the movie, and they're all on accident. Like, one of the best ones was the clothes. Like, he took his clothes off in his house, which had his children in it and a dog in it, and then the dog smelled the clothes, and the dog became possessed because he smelled the clothes. And that was, if he hadn't have done that, that wouldn't have happened. And then later in the movie, he kills a person. Oh, spoilers, I guess. He kills a person.
Spoilers.
I don't know. We probably should have said something, but he kills a person, and it causes basically the end of the movie because he did a stupid thing, and he should have just done something differently.
Yeah, usually in horror movies, it's very common for the main character to be not like to make mistakes that are very simple. That usually you'd be like, obviously you wouldn't make that decision if you're in a survival situation. But this film especially, I think the main character, I really didn't like the main character.
Really?
He really annoyed me. There were times when he made dumb decisions, and I'm just like, oh, dude, like, I don't know. I think it slowed it down for me a little in the movie.
Like the clothes thing, that could have been overlooked because it's like, if you don't, you kind of thought too fast about it. But the last one where he killed the guy is like, that felt like you definitely should have listened to that woman who was clearly knew more about demonic possession than you do, and you should have listened to her. But you just ignored her and you did something different. That was bad choice on your side. Obviously.
Yeah. There's like a few. So I feel like so he does make a lot of bad choices, which is common in horror movies. So it's annoying, but you can get over it because if you watch any horror movie, it's a common trope. But another thing I noticed about this movie is there's a lot of like screaming. Like people will like go into a room, like that scene you said where he's taking off his clothes, and then I think like either the wife or the dad came in and was like,
that was the wife, yeah.
And then
but I mean, to be honest, I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean,
you have a guy taking their clothes all the way down, taking the underwear off in a room that has their children in it, and that's like a problem.
Yeah, it's just like they get into very stressful situations.
Yeah.
So the whole movie is a stressful situation because it's a horror movie, obviously. But he makes these decisions like he's gonna take his son who has autism, and
which is a great add to the movie.
Yeah.
That son was like, oof. That brought some real world like pain to the movie.
Like when they were, I think it's in the car when she gets a call from mom, or at some point the kid starts like freaking out because he wants ice cream or something, or starts making noises, and he's just doing it in the background, and they're just like, yeah, just ignore him. He just needs to do that.
Yeah.
And so they're going on with the scene while it's in the noise in the background. It's getting louder and louder, and it's like, oh my god, this is so stressing me out.
I was really, the whole time he was a very suspenseful part of the movie, because I just kept thinking this guy who's like, he's mentally disabled to the point of not being able to do almost anything, but I was really expecting him to like just go off and just kill somebody, but he never did.
His son?
Yeah.
Oh well, I didn't think that.
It's like a suspense. It's like he's not doing anything the whole time, and
yeah. So the kid was an interesting addition to the plot, but I'd say so I liked the movie overall, but I thought there were some things about it, like even just supernatural elements in horror movies I really don't like, because I'm always questioning what the rules are. And I think at some point they're in the car and the grandma starts like listing the rules like one by one. Is like
seven rules.
And I'm always just thinking about like why are these so specific? Like you can't shoot them with a gun. You can't.
Well, let's even talk about it. Like, why can't you shoot them with a gun?
Yeah,
why?
That's what I'm thinking.
That one specific rule. They never really even show the reason why. They just say it's a rule, and some people shoot them, and bad things happen later. But like,
and how do people?
Why does the gun have any problem?
How does anyone know these rules and they're still alive? Like,
yeah, the fact that there are rules means that this has been a problem for like centuries, and people have for centuries developed these rules over for such a long time. Because yeah, you're right. Most of the people who interact with these things are probably going to die. So like a very small portion of people will survive and be able to give recommendations on how to handle that situation in the future, which means that this thing has been just a part of their world for centuries and centuries.
It would be an even more interesting movie would be the same movie with the same problem of this possession bug, but they have like the government funded system of like dealing with this type of a virus outbreak, and it's like you know, if you get the job, you go, all right, here's the 7 rules, and it's like it'd be like waste management, but it's for the demon virus. That'd be a funny movie.
They gotta go through the red tape to get it all done. Well, so the parallels that I see, 28 Days Later.
That's good.
Right. It's really not far off from 28 Days Later. Yeah. Like it's literally, but in this movie, it seems to be more like I would use the word biological. Yeah. Compared to, it keeps using the word possession, but it seems like there's a physical transfer between
the dude
people.
Vomits out like a parasite at one point, right? Like he's just sitting there and like drooling, and then like a parasite just falls out of his mouth. I think that was the autistic kid. I think that was him. Yeah.
The autistic kid drooled out a parasite?
Yeah, like a slug or something. It just came out. And it like fell on the ground.
See, I can't tell if that's like a part of the disease or if that's just a creepy thing the demon was doing to be creepy.
That's what bugs me about like supernatural horror movie elements is my brain is distracted while watching it, thinking about the implications of these rules and of these fantastical concepts.
Well, I mean, the thing you need in a movie, all you really need to make it decent to watch is consistency. As long as you're being consistent about the rules that you've established in the world, then it's watchable. But if you like abandon like you make a rule one day and then the next scene you abandon that rule and you don't, and it's like, well, this is just unwatchable now.
I'd say the strongest aspects of the movie are the effects, the acting, and the cinematography. If it didn't have any of those things, then I never would have considered it even good at all.
Yeah. So like the story is...
I said the plot is pretty average.
The plot isn't the most... I would agree.
But everything else is like elevated so much, I think, because of that. I think they had just an average script and they're like, well, let's just make the most of it.
It's a very good point.
So so cinematography immediately, like as soon as I started the movie, like a few seconds in, I was like, oh wow, this is really well shot. And then the effects, obviously.
Like the scene with the dog and that little girl and the dog attacking the little girl. Yeah. That messed me up so bad. Yeah. Because I was like, obviously the first thing that comes to my head is that it's my child who's about to be mauled, is being mauled by a dog, and no one even notices that they're being mauled by a dog until another kid notices, and then that kid is now traumatized. It's hurting her. I almost wanted to cry.
It definitely came out. Came out of nowhere. Like suddenly, it was like, oh shit! Like you could just blink and miss it. Like, oh, why is he?
Yeah,
is that a doll or something?
You could have blinked. Yeah. It was so fast.
And then, so that was pretty. So there's a lot of shock elements. Oh, that where he's about to kill the goat, and then she gets the axe, and I'm thinking, oh, is she gonna? So you can't kill him with a gun. So
okay.
Maybe
what happened with the goat? So he shot the goat. And then she killed him. Yeah. Why?
So I think
was she possessed?
You can't kill a thing with a gun, a possessed gun with a gun, because then it'll infect you. So, but this is what I'm saying.
Who was possessed in that situation? Was the woman possessed?
During that whole scene, throughout the whole movie, I'm just thinking like, what is the process of this demon going through body to body? Like, how do they do it? What are the criteria for a body to be possessed?
Because they've now admitted animals can be possessed.
So what, if I'm just petting my dog, you can just give it to me now? Or does I have to shoot him with a gun in order for him to give it to me?
Actually, not only was the goat possessed, the dog was possessed too. They have multiple animals that get possessed by this demon. Yeah. And it seems to be a common theme. So.
Another thing I didn't like about the movie that's a common trope, and I mean, I already said the plot was average, so I don't have to keep going into details, but why? But the one thing that stuck out was when they went to that lady's house, after he picked up his autistic son, they were in the van and they were going on a road trip, I guess. Or, and they stopped at her house, and she was like some kind of expert on.
I think it was his brother / friend. I think it was his friend, but they called each other brothers.
The language barrier is kind of hard to tell.
Well, they called each other hermano, which is brother.
Yeah.
They called each other brother.
But I can call someone bro, and I don't actually mean them.
Yeah. So I can't tell if they were real brothers or friends, but the point is, I think they were friends, and that was the friend's mom. And for some reason, his friend's mom has had extensive experience.
The guy with the mustache?
Yeah.
That was his mom?
Yeah. I think that's what the conversation was.
Huh.
I think that was his mom. They went to gather supplies at her house or something. And she, for some reason, had extensive experience with this possession.
Yeah, so that's what bugged me. Is like, why do you just know every little thing about this? Like, why? Like,
it's like a very real thing in this universe that everyone knows.
At some point, she says something. I think it was she was talking about them bringing their kids there, and no, it was something they did. They violated one of the 7 rules. Is what they did. I forget what it was. I think I don't remember, but she was like, "Oh, you guys brought this or something," and she's like, "You idiots! Now it's gonna come for us or something." She said something like that, and I'm just thinking, like, what? Why are they idiots? Why do you just assume everyone knows all these specific rules?
You should know all the rules.
Are you some kind of expert? Like,
come on, man, you should know the rules.
Imagine going to a doctor and they're just like, "What are you, an idiot? You don't know? You have a tumor?"
You don't know this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree. And like one of the rules that I have a problem with is don't use electrical lights.
Yeah.
What? What the hell? Why is electrical lights the problem? What? Why does no other lights? A candle isn't going to cause a problem? Why electrical lights specifically? And they said something about shadows. So I think it was something about
that's
it comes.
what it was.
But guess what?
Yeah.
And I think towards the very beginning, the guy is at a fireplace, I believe, and he looks up and there's like a shadow of something and it moves, and that's like a foreshadowing of them talking about the shadows.
Oh, I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, it barely moves. It like stretches a little bit. But like I thought something was gonna happen from that, and nothing really happened. But that was the only thing about shadows in the whole movie that actually did something. But it didn't even do anything. It just moved. Yeah. I feel like they added rules that were very like, they added stuff that never actually revealed itself. It never manifested.
Yeah.
Like the shadows and the electrical lights and there were other things that were like, these just rules seem very arbitrary.
That's why I'm thinking they just had a script already, and they were just like, well, we don't have time to fix any of this, so let's just make the most of it.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with it. It's like the devil thinks electrical lights are different than candle lights for some reason.
Actually, the entire last 15 to 20 minutes of the movie, I didn't like at all either. Like, it didn't. I think it didn't know how to end it.
Well, let's talk about the ending.
Okay.
So, the big inflated guy was beaten to death. Yeah. And then.
Also, that dude did not like get up and walk. What the hell? Like that fat dude.
He didn't get up.
No, but when he fell off the truck in the beginning of the movie. He must have gotten up and walked somewhere. I don't think so.
How did he move? Yeah, that's a good question.
Maybe it was just because
I don't think he
maybe
walked.
he was just like ripped underneath all that pus. Like,
I think
just like super buff.
giant 6-pack.
He just has a lot of pus.
I think it's alluding to someone moved him, just like how he was moved. Someone's moving him.
But he fell out of the truck. Right?
He fell out, and then someone found him and moved him.
Oh, mommy, look.
Well,
an inflated man. Oh, well, take him.
Well, I mean, he's hurt. Let's go help him. Let's bring him to the city.
It's true, yeah.
I think that's not an unreasonable thing. I think it's more reasonable than him walking.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But the point is, he died. Mm-hmm. He got beaten to death. And then, what happened?
So...
Because I was a little confused. What I think happened is a little boy like crawled his way out of his body. It wasn't shown on screen, but all it shows is there's a little boy that comes out of where that guy was. You don't see him crawl out of the body, but he was covered in blood.
Showed up, and I was just like,
so
what's happening?
I believe what that was saying.
Is the Antichrist?
He's the Antichrist, and he was just birthed. And I mean, I mean, I understand why they don't go even more, but I wish it showed a little bit more of what happened after the Antichrist was there. Like, is he actually the Antichrist, or was he doing this different?
I definitely would have liked to see some Antichrist going about.
Yeah, what I've always wanted to
see.
But honestly, that's like, it's a thing in movies. It's like they show things like the Antichrist is born, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
That's the
I
best
want to
part.
see the rest of it. But
Yeah.
it's like this idea that is scary, that if you start showing what it really does, then it's gonna become too like weird, or like there's so many caveats.
What is that going to be? What else could it be than just like a Godzilla movie where he's destroying a city? Like, that's all you can film, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he wins. That's the end of the movie.
Well, to be fair, like from a Christian point of view, an Antichrist coming into the world means you're one step away from Jesus coming into the world.
Yeah, that's true.
And ridding the world, and like, doing whatever he does. So, there's another movie that we need to watch that talks more about that concept, The Omen, the first Omen.
Right, yeah.
And it talks about that whole thing. And maybe we can do that next episode. But yeah, so I wish we could see more about the Antichrist, but the Antichrist was there, and then he just like went home and nothing was different.
Yeah, it was just like, what the hell is going on?
Nothing changed after that. Like, everyone in this dude's life is gone.
Like, the whole movie
And-
just screeched to a halt at that.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like,
It was
okay.
very tragic. Like, this was a very clear tragedy movie.
I mean,
It
I was
wasn't.
feeling sad, but I was just like, okay, what's next?
It wasn't very satisfying of an ending, was it?
Yeah.
Like,
And then he just goes out into this lawn, he just screams or something at the sky or cries. I don't know.
what was the scariest part of the movie for you? Because I
Because
have a clear one in my head.
Okay, I'd love to hear it, but scariest. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't describe any part of this as scary to me. The creepiest, grossest part was the big inflated man. Obviously, that's what sticks into my mind when I think of this movie. Like, that's probably the most visually shocking image.
Yeah, it was pretty disturbing.
That's my answer to that. So what's yours? What scared you the most from the movie?
I remember when the mom, after she was hit by a truck and obviously died, she just appeared in the bedroom of the abuela.
Oh yeah.
And her face was just like almost melting off while holding a living child.
Well, I don't think it was melting, but it was like
It was
disfigured.
falling off. Yeah, it was like falling off of her face. And she's holding this child who is alive and like kicking, and
Not for long.
and then unfortunately isn't very soon.
Yeah.
And then later she's found like eating him while walking with him for miles. It's like, oh god, this is the one thing that we were really hoping wouldn't die, and he's very much dead now. That was like the one like sacred thing we were trying to preserve, and is no longer there.
That was a good moment. The effects are they're great.
Yeah, it's just they showed stuff other movies don't show. Other movies pan the camera away, and you hear something, and then you pan back, and someone's head is off. This one showed the head being just completely come off.
Like in the beginning of the movie, they have that dead body that's like completely sliced in half.
Yeah.
And it's so detailed. You can see all of the innards
the organs.
And I'm just thinking, like, what is that? A
So
prop?
so
Or is that...
speaking of that, what was the deal with that?
Yeah.
What was the deal with that? They just had a guy who was dead, and they say, "Oh, could an animal have done this?" And he's like, "No, it was done with something sharp."
Yeah, well, it was a very clean, like,
Right.
slice. Like,
Right. So what?
I don't know.
What's the?
Maybe,
I like. There's some movies where it's good when they leave some things open ended, but this just felt kind of confusing. Like, I don't have any explanation for what could have done that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really make sense why that would have happened, because he wasn't infected or anything. So
maybe
why?
there's a longer version of the script before they made it that explains all this stuff, and it actually goes on after the ending, and it shows the Antichrist and everything, and it's actually like a full fledged out like.
I would wish.
Plot.
That's what I want.
Because it's a really good plot. I mean, if they made it in English and in Hollywood, I would have
Like, I'm not against having questions being unanswered. That's fine, but you have to be able to if you're gonna have like unanswered questions in a movie, you have to have it in a way that it's like, okay, I understand that there could be an answer to that.
If the absence of the answer makes it creepier.
Another part of the movie that really hit me home was when after the mom and daughter got smashed by the truck and he was driving away and he had a pit stop, and then the mom called him on the phone and is like, that doesn't make sense. And she was talking like as if she's still alive, and then she starts berating him about his whole life. And the phrase that will stick with me for a while is when she said, you gave me a broken boy or broken child or whatever.
Me too.
Yeah, I was like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
That is probably the meanest thing I think anyone could say to anybody else in the whole world, is that.
That was pretty, it was not cool. It was not cool.
That was uncool.
Pretty not cool.
Pretty
Demon.
uncool, Demon.
Yeah, that was a great scene where you you really quickly learn about his history and his past.
Yeah.
While also the scene also worked as kind of like showing the demon's I guess ability to possess.
Yeah.
Like
true.
so it's like it has two purposes. So it's a very very
efficient use of the scene.
efficient scene.
Yeah.
I think after they stop at the lady's house, the old lady, the dude, the mustache mom guy, lady, I think at that point is when I stopped thinking it was interesting.
Yeah.
Like when they got to the house and they were just kind of hanging around the house. From
that
point all the way to the end, I was just kind of like,
One of the things the old lady said that I thought made some sense, because whenever you approach movies that have to do with demons, it always kind of bubbles down to like, why does the demon want to be mean? And it starts to just not break
the book
down.
has to stop somewhere.
Yeah,
So-
it's like, why does this thing want to be mean to people? And
Yeah, it's like the demon is always so mean. Like every time
It's
it's
so
it's
mean.
just like, yeah, I'm gonna come and kill you and your daughter and your mother and
Yeah.
you're stupid, and you're ugly, and you look dumb.
But why?
Yeah,
why,
like, why are you so
why are you
mean?
mean? What are you getting out of this?
Yeah,
but
how much are you getting paid for this demon?
Like-
You getting insurance? what? How does this benefit you?
Who's paying you to do this to me?
Who do you work for?
Yeah, who wants this to happen to me?
Yeah.
But it eventually comes down to the point where it's like, why? But something the mom
the demons should have a bumper sticker on their ass that says, "How's my possessing?" and should have a little number.
tell me how my possession is
Yeah.
going. She said, the old lady said, it doesn't affect her as much because she's not afraid of anything anymore. And I was like,
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
very
another-
interesting. You have to she said, you have to lose fear, and they basically become non-effective, because if you can't fear anything, then their whole gimmick is done.
Okay.
Their whole thing is trying to make you afraid, and if you're not afraid of anything, then they lose by default.
Yeah, that's another rule I forgot. You can't show any fear. You can't feel any fear at all.
Another rule was don't hurt them. Do you
I thought
remember
it was
that?
don't shoot them with a gun.
There's don't shoot with a gun, and I think another was just don't harm the infected or the possessed or something. Don't harm them. It's like,
Okay.
that seems like a self-defeating rule right there.
I mean, what's the point of the don't use gun rule?
Don't use gun rule. I don't think Satan had guns when he first started existing, or electrical lights for
Yeah.
that matter. How about don't have iPhones?
Invent things
Yeah.
that are gonna annoy me. In the
No
future.
Android smartphones.
Only iPhone.
Yeah.
No Android. You disgusting.
And we're not gonna explain why. Just don't do it. It makes things worse for some reason.
But that rule, you can't show any fear. Is okay. So in the movie It, you remember It with Stephen King, the clown.
The new one?
Yeah. Well, or either one. Even the book. He can shapeshift, and the whole reason he's there is he wants to get the kids afraid because they get tastier when they're afraid.
Feeds on
So
fear.
it gives the plot a reason for him to not kill them yet and just keep them afraid.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And ever since that, I've seen in horror movies where there'll be a demon or a monster or something, and it's like, I want you afraid first.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like,
Why?
it just doesn't seem efficient use of your energy
What do
to
you mean?
make
Like,
me afraid.
And they don't explain like if being afraid makes you a better target or anything. Like they just say don't be afraid.
Yeah, I mean, demon. Like you said, the buck stops with it's a demon, so it's evil, and that means
It's motivated by something.
Tries to make you scared of things.
It won't stop
for some reason. But I mean, we're kind of being a little bit more brutal on this movie than it deserves.
That. I was like, wow,
we've just been negative this whole time. But
I think it's a really good movie.
The movie was fantastic. We've just been focusing on trying to nitpick all of the logical inconsistencies that every horror movie has.
What's
like you said, the cinematography, and the acting and like just the set design.
Well, the sets were kind of just like your average Mexican like house.
Yeah, but it was good. Yeah. It was a good average Mexican house.
It looked pretty Mexican.
It looked real. Like it looked like it was lived in. It looked like these were like actual places that were in existence.
I'm so used to like movies or like TV shows like in Breaking Bad. Every time they cut to Mexico, like everything has an orange tint.
The orange tint. The orange Mexican tint.
Where's the orange tint?
That's because it's really orange.
That's because they actually filmed it in America, but they it's set in Mexico.
If it ain't orange, it ain't Mexican. That's just the bottom line. But the movie overall, we're being so brutal, but the movie was fantastic.
Okay, and
I would recommend this movie 1,000,000 times over, even though we're talking about all the bad sides of it.
What would you give it out of 10?
Out of the 10 for a horror movie, so, I mean, 7.7.
It's pretty fair.
Yeah.
7.7. Okay. I would give it a 5.
You are so cynical.
Hey, that's a pretty...
You son of a bitch.
It's
5?
It's like a D. It's passing.
It's not a D, and it's not passing. It's an F. D is 60%.
It's halfway. It's split. So, well, now I just want to know what your 100% is for a scale like that. For movies or horror movies?
Horror movies. Well, I mean, I guess, horror movies.
I showed you my favorite movie, so that's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. But horror movie-wise, is there any 10 out of 10 horror movies for you?
Hereditary. It's pretty good.
Is that a 10 out of 10?
Maybe not 10 out of 10.
Are there any existing horror movies that are 10 out of 10?
The Shining.
The Shining.
What's it called? The Silence of the Lambs. You seen that one?
That's 10 out of 10 for you. It's a good movie.
Pretty good.
Yeah. More consistency there.
Every time I watch that movie, I always forget that Hannibal isn't the main character. I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Now we gotta.
The detective.
We gotta pay attention to this lady.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to that movie. You gotta pay
really
attention to.
Really good movie. Okay, well, I think. Do you have anything else to say about the movie?
Do recommend it. We've been super mean on the movie, just trying to point out all the bad sides. Recommend it for certain, especially if you love gory movies.
Pretty gory.
Let's really, if you have any like cautionariness of gore, don't go watch the movie.
Don't watch it if you've just eaten or
don't watch
if
it
had
if you've eaten.
Had a flu.
If you have a sensitive stomach and you're sensitive to looking at disturbing imagery, really run away from this movie. Yeah. Don't even consider watching it.
Don't eat half melted ice cream while watching this movie.
Ooh, that sounds good. I like that.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a good movie. Yeah, it's good for, you can get a scare in if you just want a horror movie. If you just want to watch a foreign movie, it's cool, it's interesting. Foreign movies kind of force you to pay attention more to it because you got to read this sometimes. Yeah,
it didn't have the dub.
Yeah.
I was wanting the dub. I like dub.
I don't like dub.
I like dub because
I usually don't.
I like it just because then I don't have to read.
I like that, but if like sometimes
well, it's not that I'm against reading either. It's that I can look at what the fuck is on the screen rather than the words on the bottom. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. If you're reading subtitles, you gotta read subtitles and look back up. And read subtitles and look back up.
Yeah. Like I'm not. To be honest, I actually watch English shows with subtitles on.
Sometimes when I'm doing that, I'm trying to, like, they're talking and I'll be reading the subtitles. I'll try to match up their lips to the word they're saying, going back and forth, just so I can most accurately get the information.
See, how can you like that? That's it. Just give me a dub, man. Jesus.
I mean,
that is so much more effort.
Because I don't know, whatever. But yeah.
We need to watch more foreign movies. I need to watch more foreign movies.
You do.
Hex, thank you.
I don't.
Thank you for being more specific.
No.
You're so cool.
Because I'm cultured. But
You're
yeah.
such a
So
jerk.
I think that's it for this.
This was a good first episode. This was our first episode.
Oh my god.
You didn't really talk about it very much.
The second episode. Yeah, this is our first episode. So if it sounds shitty, that's why, and it will probably won't get any better. So
It's honestly downhill from here.
It's all
This is the apex of our career. So prepare for nothing better than this.
Yeah, everyone is just asking us why we're doing this, why we're sleeping in the garage. It's dedication.
Yeah, we thought the garage was the best place for it.
Yeah, if it's echoey, it's in the garage. But yeah, so hopefully we'll do another one sometime. We'll talk about another movie.
Gonna try to do it weekly.
Weekly, hopefully. At least record them weekly. I don't know if we'll see how good the quality is of each episode, because I'm sure some episodes we can just maybe use it as a test runs.
You gotta upload it.
You gotta upload.
You gotta commit to it.
You gotta show the progress.
You gotta show it. You gotta commit.
All right. Well, I guess we're uploading or recording every week, and we're doing it. So
it'll be fun.
It will be fun.
This one's a little shorter than what we were thinking, but they will probably get longer.
Or they'll get shorter. You never know.
We never know. We're growing.
Yeah. So stay groovy.
Remember to like and subscribe.
And favorite and share.
And turn on the notification bell.
Turn on the notification and wear your seatbelt.
Yeah. And don't drink and drive.
And
do you know where your kids are? At this time
is
of
your
the
refrigerator running?
Did
you know where your refrigerator
did you
is?
leave your oven on at home? Just think a bunch of thoughts to think to yourself.
Yeah.
Quietly.
Be safe. All right.
Thank you, America.
Good night.